Hello, you are watching Women in Power on Whatever It Takes Network. Today, I've got Kerri Kasem with me and Helen Freed. She wrote this fabulous book called How to Love Your Kids More Than You Hate Your Ex. And where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter. I'm also on Instagram, Helen Freed.
But it looks like
also.
fried. It looks like
fried. It's
but
spelled
it's Freed.
like correct. Yeah.
This is so apropos for the day. I mean, because there's so many divorces now. I mean, in California where I live, 70%, they say 70% of marriages end in divorces.
But I believe that is not a true statistic.
What do you mean?
No, why?
You think
I
it's
think it's less.
You do?
I
Really?
do. I do. I think it's less.
I think it's more.
But here's the deal. We do Women in Power because I believe that today, with whether it's 70% or 30% or whatever the number is, it is complex being a woman in today's modern world, and we're here trying to figure it out. That's why I'm so grateful to have you on the show. When I met you at a party, and you told me you wrote this book, I was like, that is very interesting because, you know, it's a really good book. This is not a man-hating book.
It's not, and it's also for dads and moms. It's not
discriminatory.
We're not bashing dads. We're not bashing moms. And I wrote it gender-free because I felt that it was important for also sometimes dads do get a bad rap. And it's not always the dad giving the ex a hard time or the moms usually the ones that people say, oh, the ones that are getting the hard time. It's not. And that's why I wrote this book. And I tried to write it also a short, easy read. Because I wanted people to get through it within a half hour.
So my cup of tea.
It is. And, are there tips in here that you go through and you say, okay, well, this is what I do. Do you kind of lay it out? Like, this is what, people can do to get at their ex. And this is what you should not do.
The thing that I love about this book too is that you have the kids like as the priority.
Well, that's what it should be. The kids should totally be the priority because they're the victims. They're the innocent victims in this, and they're the voiceless victims. And it was time that someone gave them the chance and the voice. And this little book, I really believe does it. I truly believe in it. I'm passionate about it, and I was so grateful that it got published, that Hatherley Press picked it up and wanted to run with it, and we did, and we're looking for great things to come from this.
There's people out there right now watching, and I know that, and don't deny it, that you have done this. You have been spiteful to your ex, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. You've been spiteful towards your ex, and that hurts your kids, and you know it, and you feel bad afterward. So what happens when you have all this anger, and you're so upset? Let's say somebody really did something horrible to you. How do you go, okay, I'm going to keep that in, and I'm not going to do anything, and I'm going to continue letting my kids go over to their dads for the weekend, or vice versa, depending on the custody. So what do you do?
Especially when the kid might be taking the side of the guy or the girl who really was the fault maker, and they're defending them. How do you keep your mouth shut?
The sad part about that is when the children, especially when they're young, they don't know any better. So, and that was really a really important part of why I wanted to write this book, because unfortunately those are the parents that are so angry and so bitter, are sabotaging their children's childhood. And there's such a small time frame for kids to be kids. And you will sabotage your children's childhood. But I guarantee you, eventually when they start thinking on their own, they will get it. They will know who was the parent that initiated the poison. And they're going to you're going to suffer as the parent, and they're going to wind up pulling back from that parent. So it comes back.
It's very true. I had the similar situation as a kid. Both my mom and dad were constantly at it in court, constantly. And my mom, would say things about my dad, and my dad kind of held his tongue. It was my stepmother that was constantly saying horrible things about my mom. And I remembered that, and I really hated it. I hated that my mom would say something about my dad, my stepmother would say something about my mom. It was just nonstop, right? There was so much negativity in the house, so much anger. But I remember when
How old were you?
They got married when I was 9. So it was started very beginning.
Did you feel like you couldn't even express or communicate how you felt, like you just kind of had to deal with it?
I would express myself. I would express myself to my mom, not, so much my dad, because I was afraid of my stepmother.
Did you also feel guilty? Because there's times, a lot of times, children feel guilty, like, oh gosh, I don't really
No.
I like my
No,
stepmom or I like my stepdad.
I did
and they're
at
making
first.
me feel like I shouldn't like them, and
Right.
and they're saying all these things, and a lot of times the children feel guilty, for being happy.
I was never happy at my father's
Okay.
house. So that's, I mean, it was a very hard transition, and you know, my story's out in the press right now and in the news about how, you know, I haven't talked to my stepmom in 15 years. It was very hard. There was always, she did not like us, and she made that very clear. She didn't like us. She also didn't like my mom. She didn't like my dad's family or my dad's friends.
Right.
So it wasn't just us. There was, you know, she didn't like very many people. So it was very hard to go over there and feel like you're not wanted. She hates my mom. She hates my family. What do I do? And I'll tell you, I mean, I was in therapy as a very, very young child. I mean, all different kinds of therapy, constantly, because I didn't know what to do with myself. I was flunking school. I was angry. I was upset. And, you know, and I blamed my dad a lot for marrying a woman who hated his kids. And I was so angry about that.
How could he do that?
Right.
Right. You also feel like he never had a voice for you. He never stood up for you, maybe. Like
He did towards the end. He did towards the end. And I don't want to say end. He did when we got older. He realized. But he didn't realize what game she was playing in the beginning. You know, like this is somebody who would. If my dad and stepmom were in a room, we were all playing. My dad walked out. When my dad would walk back in, my stepmother would say, "Oh, your son just did this to me." And I remember my dad spanking my brother for something he never did. Yeah, but he finally wised up, and he finally says, you know, I know what she does. I know she does not tell the truth, and I know that, you know, some of the things she does, I don't like her for it. He actually said that to me. When she,
That's
you know,
healing.
It was very healing. It was very
words.
cathartic. It was finally, Dad. Thank you,
Right.
thank you for you know, for saying that, because there was a lot of anger there.
Sure.
But so what do you tell people?
Well, we're gonna have to hold on. We're gonna
we
leave
have a
that for
break.
a little cliffhanger. You are watching Women in Power on Whatever It Takes Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. How to love your kids more than you hate your ex.